my beautiful reflectors and people wanting to know more about reflectors. I found one. I caught one. I've been wanting to meet a reflector for as long as I've gotten into the human design concept. Yes, and this is exactly what the reflector feels like. For those of you who are not familiar, the human design concept is it's the idea that we're all here grounding different energies and that there's different energy types here. So there are generators, there are manifesting generators, there are manifestors and projectors, and then there are reflectors. So reflectors are known as, I call them just lunar beings. I've done a lot of research on them. However, I've never met one. But I finally did. It's very interesting. So we've been kind of corresponding back and forth. And I'm going to tell you my take on reflectors after tuning into them. It was very heavy. And it's not the actual person itself. So with the reflector, they're known to have no energy center. So what they do is they're constantly reflecting back the information from their environment. So they're reflecting. People don't always like the reflection that they get because it's very often a reflection of themselves, or a reflection of the planet, or some sort of truth when it comes to that respect. So having tuned into a reflector, here's my personal take on it. I am so grateful to be a projector. Growing up, I always felt very alone. I felt very alone. I felt like this planet and the systems that have been designed on it didn't work for me. And that's because I wasn't living my true strategy and my true design. Once I started just truly living in what is projectorship, things come to me so much more easy, just a lot easier. I don't have to worry about things so much because I know what my strategy is. So for reflectors, their strategy is that they're supposed to wait. They're supposed to wait 29 days, I think, before making a decision. So like I'm like the ultimate waiter. Projectors are the ultimate waiters. Reflectors have to wait. It has to do with the moon. So moons run them. Moon is true emotion, and it's funny because I picked this cup not on purpose. It was just the last one that I had. You can see all these emotions on it. Emojis. And that's exactly what the reflector feels like. Anyway, the reflector's strategy is to make decisions based on the moon, is to wait like a 29-day lunar cycle to make hard decisions on things. So after corresponding, I asked him if I could tune in last night, and it's cloudy outside, no surprise, because I feel very, very heavy. The reflector is the world. That's all I can say. Like, I tuned into the reflector. It is the world and it is nothing. It is because they don't have a true I am. They are not an I am. They are an everything. They are the world. They are caring and apathy at the same time. Their energy pulls in, but it repels. A reflector in a relationship I can see is very difficult, and they do need a lot of alone time. But it's a very isolated feeling because they are constantly having inner battles within themselves, and that's because they're dealing with all the energies of the planet. They're dealing with and honestly, after tuning into him, I feel very grateful to be a projector, because that feeling of it's a constant push-pull within themselves. There is an openness, but there is an apathy. One of them getting close to somebody I would think would be very, very difficult. But the truth of it is they do need people. They need people around them. They need people around them who can raise the vibrations of the planet around them. I think the only way that we will know that the planet is improving is if you happen to have a reflector around you that's truly happy. And I feel like there aren't a lot that are right now. So tuning in just made me feel very, very drained, and it's because the world is draining. I feel like a lot of twins came here to raise the vibration, and that's my life's work here, is to do that, is to raise the vibrations of the planet, to help people realize their gifts, to change our three-dimensional way of thinking. But for the reflector, they truly do not have an I am identity. They don't have an identity. They're truly the world. And it's so weird because I can say that they're everything. They're just everything. Every emotion, so that's why they can come off as very erratic. And the funny thing was, he posts on Facebook, and he's a Leo, which is like my opposite, and I love Leo guys, but he'll post things and they're kind of erratic sometimes, like kind of all over the place. So I just assumed it was Leo dramatics, but then after corresponding with him for a little bit, I asked him to human design himself because I couldn't get a read off of what he was, and it's because I'd never come in contact with somebody who holds that energy, or lack thereof. You hold the energy of the planets. So it was very, very interesting. So I just equated it to him being dramatic as a Leo, but it's really in the moments. He was saying he has a hard time with relationships, and I said, I can see you like snapping at people, and it's because you don't have good people around you that are raising the vibration, or that are very positive, or that can keep you at a baseline. So advice for reflectors, other than to wait a lunar cycle to make decisions and stuff, I suggest that you get with manifestors, because you need a non-energy type around you that's not going to drain you, but you also need, you do need others for, I guess, energy. A manifestor is a non-energy type, but will have the warmth that you need to make you feel happy. So I'd suggest if you can find another manifestor, that's like 9% of the population. Manifestors are like, I don't know, the pharaohs, I guess. They come in and they initiate things. They initiate projects and things like that, but they are also non-energy type. I feel like that would provide the warmth that a reflector needs. I also feel like reflectors should be surrounded by projectors, or projectors with abilities, because what a projector can do is they can amplify energy for you, and they can also diffuse hostile situations. And everybody at work always says this to me. They're like, Megan, you run towards conflict because nobody can be mad around me, or nobody can be, it's weird, I can kind of diffuse the energy very quickly, and it's a gift that I have. It's almost like, if you guys watch Twilight, like Jasper in Twilight, he has mood control. That's what a projector does, but I feel like reflectors need to have people like that around them, just to give them a stable baseline of, because I just see like somebody who's hostile, running at a reflector is gonna get that right back. So I feel like there's a very like snappy behaviors when it comes to reactions to hostility, because honestly they're just reflecting that energy back towards them. And I feel like what ends up happening is that reflectors get very drained from their 9 to 5 if they're surrounded by negativity. They get very drained by that, and they end up isolating themselves, and they should not isolate themselves. You will need a lot of alone time. But I feel like you also need to surround yourself with some non-energy types that can keep you at a baseline. Because really, reflectors, somebody made a joke about this. They're reflecting the state of the planet. So really, somebody made a joke about they should just be sitting on their purple pillow, and people should be feeding them, grapes, and they should be drinking wine, and honestly it is true, because they are the world, and they should have advisors around them and things like that can advise them and let them know what's going on in the world. Maybe they should be advising a little bit on what actions to take, but it definitely made me very sad, because that's exactly like all I've been working for, is to help the planet. help raise vibrations. I'm a transmuter, so I transmute people's energies up, so a lot of people realize their true gifts around me. And that's what this planet needs, because people need to self-realize their power and who they are. But with reflectors, my heart bleeds for you guys, and I know Sagittarius's reading was a little heavy yesterday. So if you have any Sagittarius reflectors are less than 1% of the population, and I was so excited. I was so excited to finally meet one. So yeah, if you guys have any questions on reflectors or anything like that, I did tune in. It was very heavy, but it's not the person itself, because the person does not have their own identity. They have the identity of their environment, their current circumstances, and chances are, I feel like the world has not been kind to reflectors, because nobody's been kind to the world. Not nobody, but like, the world has suffered a lot. And they continue to suffer as long as we don't raise the vibration. So, yeah, I feel like calling out all the energy types, come into your power. And I think how we'll truly know that the planet is happy is if we have happy reflectors. And I feel like this is at different spots in the planet. But it was very, very interesting. I was very excited. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop a comment, a like, a share, anything like that. It was just so funny too, because I called him out and I was like, you have not asked me one thing about myself. Most people would equate that to be a Leo anyway. Like, they like to talk. They like to hear themselves talk. I find them especially funny for that. But it was because I feel like reflectors make great consultants or great therapists. Like, people just verbally vomiting to them constantly, and them just kind of reflecting what their core issues are. Or it's like, I feel like they could cut through the bullshit really, really quickly. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment, like, share, anything like that. And we'll talk soon, guys. Bye.